If you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description.
Welcome to Mindshock True Crime. You are listening to the MAURA Murray series. This is episode 71. Nothing is accidental. And I've long pondered what makes the online MAURA Murray community so unique, not only regarding all of the trolling and insanity and the drama, but put that aside, but the vehement insistence on certain theories versus other theories. Is it accidental? And in Investigation 101, writing things off as mere coincidence, I mean, that is something only clueless, illogical coincidence theorists do, because how do you know something is not related? I mean, that's a curious question. If everything is related and nothing is accidental, does that give us the answer, or at least a major clue, into solving the MAURA Murray case? I'm, of course, your host, Bruce McGuire. And if you want to support Mindshock, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure you allow your device to have those notifications come through. You could also like and share this particular podcast. Keep the awareness up. That is how cold cases get solved, by awareness, public awareness. Someone obviously knows something, and perhaps more than someone's know some things. So like and share, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcaster requests. You could also be a guest on the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. I do, of course, suggest, heavily recommend that one is at least at a children's level English comprehension tier, because it is very, very difficult to have any kind of meaningful discussion if someone is either playing stupid or if their mental deficiency is so great that they can't even comprehend what's being discussed and argue points that were never made. Of course, there are some trolls in the MAURA Murray community. Again, I am not going to pretend to know whether they really are that dumb or they're just playing stupid. Maybe a mix of both a little bit, but that is, of course, a staple. And is that accidental in and of itself, which ties into this very podcast? Nothing is accidental. If for nothing else than just theorizing and turning over every possible stone in a case as of yet unsolved, what if we just for a moment consider the possibility that nothing is accidental, nothing at all, absolutely nothing? I mean, we're talking false tips from the get-go. We're talking Erin Larkin placing herself at the scene, then walking that back a little bit. We're talking Bill Rausch, all of the court case issues. We're talking James Renner's recent stalking and incidents of that nature, and the trolls are still accusing him of even making that up. I mean, how many times does James Renner need to be vindicated? I mean, it's just, the silliness is off the charts. But if it's not accidental, if it's not simply stupid people out there, if these are people with agendas, what does that tell us? If we draw this gigantic board, like a conspiracy theory board, a corruption investigation board, an anomaly board, whatever you want to call it, what are the common factors? So what the common thread seems to be the DC circle, because you have MAURA Murray's own sister, Julie Murray, in the DC circle as well, went to West Point, just like MAURA did for that 1 year, familiar with Bill Rausch, and also apparently just this circle of individuals, again, known as the DC circle. Scott Wall gives Helena Murray a computer. Scott Wall, internet security specialist for the U.S. government. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You have Julie Murray working for Department of Defense, contractors, subcontractors, whatever. There's a lot of DC activity here. Now, who has the power to put the lid on various aspects of the case, to suppress CCTV footage, again, from UMass, from the liquor store? It's very curious, because if there is upper agency involvement, which I have long speculated, now, for reasons good or bad, that's a completely different can of worms. For those not familiar with what a false dichotomy logical fallacy is, no one is saying that the government did a witness relocation or that a government agent was responsible for her death and that was covered up. I mean, who knows? There could be any number of various scenarios. But what I am postulating is that if there was some kind of agency involvement, for example, the FBI immediately on the ground at UMass over a missing person who sent out emails saying that she would be missing, saying that she would not be at school. She was gone for a week. So why was UMass immediately on the ground for a missing adult, a supposedly missing adult that might have not even been missing, a potential DUI walkaway, which happens all the time? Now, other curiosities are, of course, Bill Rausch's father. And most of that is just speculation because people simply can't nail down anything definitive on the guy. Obviously, that doesn't mean that he's some kind of spook or involved in a DC circle, but we don't know. We don't know either way. And Bill Rausch, of course, involved in political circles, the DC circle. Curious. Very, very curious. So if we're just for the moment, if we're considering that nothing is coincidental, nothing is accidental, and everything means something, what other conclusion can we reach? Again, I'm not saying this is true. I'm just saying within this thought experiment of theorizing, what other possibility is left other than there's DC Circle involvement in her disappearance, even involving Aaron Larkin? Now, when I say involvement, I've long speculated that Bill Rausch could be the good guy. If Bill Rausch was helping Maura Murray get away from some kind of situation, let's say in the UMPD, so she works the security desk, she's technically part of the UMPD, if there was some kind of corruption that she found out about it, and it was very, very dangerous for her to be in that position, maybe she reported it to a superior who was also in on the corruption. Maybe it went all the way up to UMass. I mean, come on. The head of UMass is Whitey Bulger's broski. Come on. I mean, how many coincidences are we going to accept and write off? How many elephants in the room? I mean, we're in double-digit elephant. We might be in triple-digit elephants in a tiny little room, and there are still coincidence theorists out there that are maintaining there are no elephants at all. So again, just for the purpose of this thought experiment, if there's no accidents and no coincidences, is it all related? In which case, UMPD visiting Maura's nursing class, I mean, is this all gaslighting to get out ahead of something? To get out ahead of something, to create a false narrative that to not be questioned, and just the heavy, heavy suppression at silent UMass of anything to do with Maura Murray. I mean, there's people that went to UMass at the time that had never even heard of her. I mean, that's how little media there was. Now, I'm sure they put up posters, but how many and what was the upkeep with them? Because there's people going to UMass that have never, at the time Maura Murray went missing, and they do not recall anyone ever going missing or any media in the internal UMass network. How curious is that? Again, is that accidental? What if it's not accidental? What does that mean? So if this DC Circle, if they're the good guys and they got Maura Murray out of a potentially deadly situation, did someone try to run her off the road at the Hadley accident? Again, just for the purpose of this thought experiment, we're not being clueless coincidence theorist goofs. We're just considering that everything is related and connected. Someone getting into two potential car issues with no definitive evidence of what happened at either site. I mean, again, if this was an above-board case, you'd have all the information you needed at least one of these sites. We have nothing at either. Basically nothing. What could amount to? We don't even know if Maura Murray was driving in either one of these situations. We have no definitive evidence. Now, there is CCTV footage in those areas. Did the FBI confiscate it? What does it show? Does it show Maura Murray driving? All the potential driving that could have gone on that Saturday night. Her vehicle, that Saturn, Fred Murray's vehicle The Corolla, that's not on any CCTV footage of any business or any of the external UMass CCTV footage security camera systems. Is that what the coincidence theorists would like everyone to believe? The narrative steers. It just, again, if we're considering that there's nothing accidental about any of this, what does that mean? All of this was done on purpose. And for what purpose? So if Maura Murray was taken out of the situation, now I'm not saying witness protection, there could be something completely different going on that we don't know about. Maybe Julie Murray knows or was told just enough. Maybe she was told the incorrect information on purpose to keep her in the dark because they couldn't trust that she wouldn't tell Fred or other people. And would she? I don't know. Again, only people that know Julie Murray, and even then, only Julie Murray herself would know. I guess it would depend on the nature of the information that was given to her. Because she's good at following orders. I mean, I don't know. Let's say the CIA or the FBI goes to Julie Murray and they tell her whatever information. Would she do whatever they said? I don't know. I'm just asking the question. Same thing with Fred Murray, although Fred Murray strikes me as the type of guy that wouldn't give a crap what anybody said. He needs to find his daughter. So, and again, he doesn't want her to look bad in the media or his family, which is understandable. So he might say nothing at UMass is related because he truly believes it's not, even if it is. Again, unknown variables there. But if this DC circle is responsible for helping her, but there's something, is it simply a case, or is it a case of Bill Roush, Aaron Larkin going rogue from whatever departments to help Maura Murray? And then this Scott Wall infiltration is government agencies trying to keep tabs on these individuals to see what they know or what exactly happened because they suspect but can't prove. But why would they be going through all this trouble? That's the question. It would have had to be something that goes really, really high up. If you haven't checked out my Fringe Theories podcast on Mindshock regarding Alden Olson's Fringe Theories, I mean, he even tied in Mitt Romney and family members of Mitt Romney into this who happen to live in the area of Woodsville, that New Hampshire area where Maura Murray's vehicle was last seen. And there were rumors of a party. Again, what is all of those rumors are, and who started all those rumors? Again, it's really impossible to tell. So another thing to consider is if Bill Roush, Aaron Larkin, particular individuals were going out of their way to help Maura Murray. Now, again, I'm not dismissing the possibility that there could have been issues at a party. Possibly Maura broke up with Billy. Regardless, if he really cared about her, he would have tried to help her anyway. And who knows how close Aaron Larkin was with Maura Murray. She made really cryptic statements like she knew of Maura Murray. I mean, it's just she has the same job. She's on the track team. I mean, it's bizarre. A lot of Aaron's statements are, of course, bizarre. But if they were operating outside of the scope of official capacities, technically, maybe even illegally in helping Maura in whatever way they tried to help her, maybe that it was an unsuccessful plan to help Maura and they really don't know what happened because the plan was unsuccessful. So if there's some kind of corruption in UMPD or some kind of illegal activities that Maura was somehow brought into or made aware of in some way, possibly connected to the drug bust, again, the sting operation over a 2-digit charge in pizza. I mean, again, you can't make this stuff up. Again, if we're pretending nothing is accidental, this case is unlike any other. How many other missing persons have had a sting operation conducted on them over a 2-digit pizza charge and had their mugshot taken in a dorm hallway? I mean, that's got sketchy written at 7 Ways from Sunday. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Just really bizarre. So Maura Murray's ultimate fate, whether she's still alive, whether she met at the hands of an opportunistic individual committing foul play. Again, we have to refer to FBI statistics. Females that are harmed are usually harmed by people known to them. Significant other, ex, or someone they know, an acquaintance, a friend, someone stalking them over a period of time. These are just the very basic facts. Why so many Dunning-Kruger goofs and coincidence theorists and narrative steers are pushing back so hard against that notion is curious in and of itself. And again, for the purpose of this podcast, we are considering the possibility that nothing is accidental. If everything is on purpose, what conclusions can we reach? There was some kind of a situation. Patrick-Vassy overlap, some kind of possible drug deal. If Maura Murray is in fact the CI and she's calling Domino's after hours, that individual possibly connected with this with her vehicle, borrowing the Saturn, possibly connected with the Patrick-Vassy hit and run. I know a lot of goofs say the paint chips didn't match or whatever, but two things. That's not true. If Patrick-Vassy hit a trash can or the street, whatever was on the street, he could have had various types of chips and flakes on his clothing that don't necessarily have to match any type of vehicle, including the car that hit him. So that's not conclusive in any way. Second of all, if there is some kind of vast conspiracy, they could have cooked the report, of course. So again, if we're just considering all possibilities, either way, regardless, that doesn't prove, that inconclusive report doesn't prove anything about anything. So I don't know why some people cling to that with religious fervor in order to dismiss the Patrick-Vassy hit and run being possibly perpetrated by Maura Murray's vehicle. Again, that doesn't mean she hit him, but the Saturn possibly could have been used. And how many individuals know about the key being located on the outside of the tire or wherever they kept it after it was towed back to UMass in January? Again, if we're assuming it's not accidental that all of the CCTV footage was confiscated, that would also include whoever took her car if it wasn't her. And when, because if we're not falling for fallacies, we're not just going to take on blind faith as gospel like the Dunning-Kruger crowd does, that the Saturn was on campus in the parking lot that particular week. It could have been moved days, possibly even a week or two prior. We really don't know. And why would the footage be confiscated or suppressed? Another curiosity there. If it's all being done on purpose, that means there are people who, I mean, again, well, let's not fall for black and white fallacies. Couple different possible situations. She could have never left the UMass area. Possibility one. Possibility two, she left under circumstances not what are thought, i.e. with Aaron Larkin, possibly even Bill Roush. Some people maintain he was on base, but again, with that, again, let's compare it to other cases where it's been definitively verified, not through the grapevine hearsay that his commanding officers verified he was indeed on base. Maybe he was. I'm not saying he wasn't. But either him or possibly a friend of his, and Aaron Larkin, or not Aaron Larkin, another individual, Kate Markopoulos, Sarah Alfier, I mean, whoever, or none of them, another UMPD cadet, unnamed, they're helping Maura Murray get away, something goes wrong. Now, where that something goes wrong is another curious question, but the desperation some have to place Maura Murray at the staged accident scene. Now, again, how many other missing persons cases have multiple reconstruction experts concluded that a scene was staged? So we're not going to hallucinate that it wasn't staged if it was staged. So maybe it wasn't, but all the evidence points towards it being staged and not hitting a tree. And again, how many other cases do you have this just religious insistence that it did hit a tree when it didn't? Very, very curious. You don't have positive ID, you have changing stories, and I don't really want to go down the rabbit hole with the Roush McDonald posse arriving immediately, going cross-country in the middle of the night over a potential DUI walkaway, and then formally interviewing neighbors. How often do we see that? We don't see that in any other case that's been reported as of yet. So all of these things, if none of them are accidental, it's all to get ahead of information flow to manufacture a narrative in order to keep the truth from ever becoming known. That's the only conclusion we're left with the DC Circle front and center, not only at the time, but way after the fact, with Scott Wall donating a computer to Helena Murray. What kind of spyware was on that computer to monitor exactly what the MAURA Murray family was finding out about the situation? Is that another convenient way for just government agencies to monitor what the family of this missing person is finding out in order to keep the lid on whatever they need to keep the lid on for whatever reason? Again, I'm not claiming or hallucinating likelihoods of scenario A or scenario B, or what anything that they would want to keep the lid on, what it would be or why it would be. We're not discussing that. We're not making those assumptions. We're not hallucinating it's one thing or the other. We're just looking at it objectively from the outside if we're considering nothing is accidental. That's what we're left with. I mean, is there a more viable theory? We're going to magically ignore all of the evidence and just say she stumbled into the woods and died, like some people do on some sham subreddits. I mean, it's really weird. It's really weird. Again, you don't see it in any other case. If that's not accidental, that you don't see it in any other case, what does that mean? So it's been a short one. That's all I really wanted to address. Just for a moment, anybody honestly, logically, objectively, scientifically looking for the truth must ask themselves, if nothing is accidental and we consider everything is related, where does it point to? And is that the most likely scenario if we're not ignoring information? Once you start ignoring information and picking and choosing, Butch Atwood being an infallible god with positive IDs, even though he failed polygraphs and changed his story, and other more objective parties like Rhonda Marsh, the police dispatcher, writing down that there was a man smoking a cigarette at the staged crime scene, at the staged accident scene. Once you do all these things objectively, there's really only one scenario left. And again, all of the DEA activity that particular night, was that accidental as well? I mean, it's curious. I mean, how many stacks of it's not just one stack of coincidences. We have stacks of coincidences on top of stacks of coincidences. We have nothing but coincidences in this case. We have DEA activity. We have U.S. Marshal activity in this small hamlet in New Hampshire. It doesn't make any sense to just hallucinate it's all coincidental. Because what if it's not? Now, just taking a step back, studying all these different cases, it seems like every case does have one thing that doesn't fit. And there's too many unknowns to make it fit. But the MAURA Murray case has endless amounts of these. So is the DEA activity, are the countless suicides being called in that particular night that are not normally called in? I mean, I think they got, I don't remember, someone apparently tracked this down. They got the same amount of suicide calls the night of MAURA Murray's Saturn being staged in Haverhill. That night, they had the same amount of suicide calls as they averaged for a whole year. Or for a whole month, whatever it was. It's really bizarre, is it not? Is it not? And again, it's just you have Officer Pepper riding around. You have the confiscation of CCTV footage in these businesses. All of these things that don't make sense and the complete opposite of transparencies. This is how government agencies work. So again, if in another couple years, hopefully it doesn't take that long, but if it does take another couple years or even another decade, if it does come out that there was some kind of operation. I really don't want to go down the Ghislaine Maxwell theories. Some people believe, again, because she had a New Hampshire presence, Whitey Bulger had a New Hampshire presence, and, I mean, there's human trafficking being mentioned in Haverhill Town Minute reports that human trafficking is an issue in this small hamlet in the middle of nowhere in New Hampshire. So, again, if you're not just this hardcore Dunning-Kruger coincidence theorist, you have to at least look at the information. You have to at least look at it, not stick your head in the sand and pretend it doesn't exist. So if there was some kind of overlap into Jill Zane Maxwell or any of these other government agencies human trafficking, does that explain the whole situation? Did they try to traffic her and it went wrong? They didn't realize that she was part of this other government operation. They didn't realize she was a CI at UMass and there was some kind of UMass issue. Or is this even darker still? I think I might present here. I might as well present it right here. The final mind shock of the episode. The darkest theory as of yet. Is it possible that, again, with the head of UMass chancellor being Whitey Bulger's brother, is he connected to Jill Zane Maxwell? Did Maura Murray find out something she wasn't supposed to find out? And instead of just bumping her off and burying her, they wanted to sell her into human trafficking and make some extra money? Is that a possibility? And they wanted to do it in New Hampshire, and they had this whole setup. Something went wrong. It didn't go off exactly as planned. And in the middle of the whole thing, there's the human drama of Maura Murray possibly breaking up with Bill Rausch, some possible situation at a party that may or may not have to do with whatever Maura Murray found out that facilitated some parties wanting to knock her off or sell her into human trafficking if there were connections in the Haverhill area. And again, even Maura Murray has connections. The Murray family has connections in the area, despite what some people have said. There are people that have dug up family histories, and there are relatives, cousins, I believe, of Maura Murray. I don't know if they're close or not, probably not so quite close cousins, but there are family in that area, in the vicinity of the staged accident scene, that are related to the Murray family. So that causes some people to postulate that maybe her family members helped her get away and everything after that is a sham, or maybe they were trying to help her get away and then something went wrong. Again, for whatever reason, the Dunning-Kruger crowd and the coincidence theorists, they have a hard time understanding that if there's a conspiracy, humans are fallible, and there's Murphy's Law. Things go wrong all the time. It's not that they planned to stage the accident right there. It might have been some last-second decision because the car couldn't get to its final destination, whether there was an accident with a tow truck or a school bus, whatever, or another vehicle or a police officer. Whatever the case may be, their plan went wrong. And that's why we're left with so many bizarre oddities. So what if they were planning to get her out of there for whatever reason, whether it was connected to Patrice Vassie, uncovering corruption, and it was too dangerous for her to remain at UMass? Maybe that's why she never sent the email to UMPD, whether or not she got fired or not. Maybe she got fired because they found out that she found out something. Is that a possibility? Regardless, it doesn't matter the specifics. If that's what happened, she wouldn't send an email. And then again, that's if her actions were even her own. Now, just because they weren't her own doesn't mean she didn't agree to them. If there was some kind of meeting with Fred and Kate Markopoulos and there was some kind of a plan set in motion, regardless of whether Bill Rausch knew about it or not. Again, in the previous episodes, I've mentioned that early Sunday morning call that's purported to be from Maura using her father's cell phone at the motel, that could have theoretically been Fred Murray himself calling Bill Rausch and telling him something, whether the plan's going well or not, or if things needed to be changed. Who knows? Again, it's curious on the whole Fred saying that Bill is the salt of the earth, knowing what's known now. I mean, why is that? Is it because despite of all Billy Rausch's flaws, he really still cared about Maura Murray and he was still trying to help her? Is that why? Or do they simply have dirt on each other and they don't want to reveal it? I mean, who knows? Again, I'm not going to postulate. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. But is this the darkest theory where there was some kind of plan set in motion and it failed? And there's some kind of upper agency involvement and they want to monitor what happened. Maybe they don't know what happened, but they believe certain parties do. And if there were simply stand-down orders, that doesn't mean all these individuals at UMass, like Thrasher and all these other individuals, that doesn't mean that they know what happened. That simply means they were given a stand-down order. For whatever reason, gag orders across the board for everybody. Again, that could be the situation regardless of whether it is known what happened to Maura Murray or not, whether she's alive or not. But I hope this episode was enlightening for some in simply considering that if nothing is accidental, does it point in more than one direction? It doesn't seem to. It only seems to point in the direction of the DC Circle and upper agency involvement in one way or another. Hope you guys enjoyed another edition of Mindshock True Crime. If you enjoyed the podcast, you want to help support the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell for notifications. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. And you can also check us out Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topological analysis, co-podcast, or requests. You could also be a guest on the podcast depending on your tier. So consider being a patron if you want to support the channel as well. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.